Um, okay, so, hi. No, I don't need to do that. Hello, 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 and hello. Hi, and welcome. Hello, and welcome to the Ellenmade book club. So far, I'm the only member, but you are more than welcome to join. I thought I would start by introducing myself and just give you a quick summary of my reading history, just to give you some context. My name is Ellen, and I live in Sweden. I'm 36. Yeah, I'm 36. And I used to read a lot when I was younger. When I was a kid, I was reading all the time. And when I was in my 20s, I would read a bit as well. But in the last few years, I haven't really been reading that much. And then I started reading again last fall. I was inspired by seeing people talking about books online, and it kind of reminded me that I like reading books too. And making videos about it looked really fun too. So I just thought, why not give it a shot, you know? I definitely want to get back into reading more. And I figured, you know, making a YouTube channel about it might be an extra sort of motivation or a way to document my thoughts on the books, which I don't really do. And I think that's a nice thing to do. So that's all I'm going to say about me. You're welcome to ask questions if you have any. But the books that I want to talk to you about today are these four. And I'm going to just do them in the order that I read them. I don't know what made me do this, but I started with The Secret History. This book is 620 pages, so it's like this is a chunky one to start with. I could have maybe eased into reading a little bit more, but I had heard really good things about this book, and I was curious to see what the hype was about, and it sounded like something for me, like something academic, something mysterious, a murder mystery, some languages in there too, which is really something that I find interesting. I kind of had high hopes for this one, and they were not really met. So this book is set in the US, and we follow Richard when he is a student, and he's actually telling the story as an older man, like when he's older and he's looking back on his time as a student. And he has moved across country from his parents, and he comes to this school and doesn't really have a plan for like what he wants to study. And at this school there's this teacher who teaches Greek, but he only accepts like 5 students every year. So there's this elite group of students and this teacher, and this is very intriguing to Richard. Eventually he becomes accepted into this Greek class, and he kind of gets to know the other 5 students. But there's something off, like there's something mysterious going on, and we follow Richard as he kind of tries to figure out what is going on, what are they doing, what is happening, why are strange things happening over the course of the year. At the start of the book, we also find out that one of these students is going to be murdered. So when the story then begins, we sort of see what happens up until that point, and we also find out what happens afterwards. When I was reading this, I wasn't really sure if I liked it or not. I remember my partner asking me like several times, like, oh, how's it going with that book? Is it any good? And I was like, I don't know, but I guess I'm gonna keep reading. Like if a book is really, really bad, I'm not gonna finish it. Or if I'm not feeling it, I might put it to one side and pick up another book because maybe I'm just not in the mood for that book. But this one, it wasn't bad at all. And I was intrigued to find out what was going on and like what's the mystery here and what is the big reveal gonna be. Like I was interested to know what was gonna happen, but I wasn't as like immersed as I thought that I would be. It wasn't like a page turner for me. It was more like I was working my way to get there, through it. I found the language really, maybe not the language, but like the writing style a lot of like semicolons and really long sentences, and I had to like go back and read stuff again. I didn't get a clear image of the other students, so I kept like mixing them up, and I couldn't really put a name to a character, and it wasn't very clear to me who was who. It just wasn't as fantastic as I was hoping for it to be. Maybe I'm not the target audience for this one. There's also this sense of elitism and snobbery and like rich people. Not that all of them are rich, but there's this sense that they are, and they're not always very likable, like how they behave. And I mean, the author did a good job. I think that was done on purpose. I just didn't enjoy it. I don't find that impressive. I don't find that kind of vibe nice to be in. So I didn't really enjoy it. No, I didn't like it that much. But if you like that kind of thing, this is definitely a well written book, and it's an interesting story. It's a good story. It's has those elements of education, mystery, intrigue, relationships in that kind of like school setting. So I'm not saying you shouldn't read this. I'm just saying it's not for everyone. That's okay. Right, so the next book I picked up, I just dropped on the floor and ruined the cover of. Right. Oh my gosh. Oh no. I just dropped it. That was dumb. Oh no. Okay, that made me sad. So the next book I picked up was The Measure by Nikki Erlick, and I enjoyed this one a lot more. On the cover it says 8 ordinary people, 1 extraordinary choice. In this book we follow 8 characters in the US, in the New York kind of area, I think, mostly. And the choice they have to make is whether or not to open a box that appears on everybody's doorstep one morning. And inside the box is a string letting you know how long your life is going to be. And this happens overnight. As the whole world wakes up, everybody gets a box on their doorstep, and they have to make a decision on whether to open it or not. Do they want to find out how long they're going to live? When they do, how is that going to affect their decisions in life and how they choose to spend it? And how is it going to impact their relationships with their family, their partners, kids, parents, work? I think that concept is really interesting. It's probably going to make you think about your own life and like how you want to spend it. Like if you were to find out that you only had a certain amount of years left to live, how would that affect your decisions, and kind of why aren't you making those decisions now? So this book could have been a really heavy read. It's a kind of serious topic, but I didn't find this book heavy at all. There are some heart-wrenching moments and definitely parts that are sad, but I didn't find the writing style difficult. I didn't find the feeling of the book is a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. It's not a comedy by any means, but there's hope and kindness and people being kind to each other. These 8 characters all have their own story and circumstance, but their stories are intertwined a little bit throughout the book, and I think that was done very well. I also appreciated that there are different kinds of relationships in this book. It's not just about, say, a romantic couple. 2 of these characters are in a relationship, but then there are also like friendships, new acquaintances, co-workers, singles who maybe find someone to flirt with. There's family dynamics, there's politics, like how does it affect the country as a whole and how would people kind of navigating that. I also felt like the author recognized that I, as a reader, am probably gonna have some level of intelligence, so not everything has to be spelled out. There are a lot of instances where I find that she's only like mentioning something almost in passing, but as a reader you understand that, oh, like, yeah, that would be a whole thing to explore for someone who is in that situation. Maybe that wasn't a situation for one of the characters, but like that would also be something to take into consideration if this were to happen in real life. I enjoy the writing style. I really enjoy when you switch perspectives. So like one chapter is written about this character and then the next character in the next chapter. And I also appreciated that it wasn't confusing just because the characters are so clear in this book. They don't all come at you at once. It's you start with one character and then add one more and then back to the first one and then add a third. And it kind of builds up to these 8 characters. They don't all get as much attention or like as many pages in the book, but they all play a role in this story. And yeah, I thought it was really well done, and it was a nice read. It was an interesting read and it felt good reading it. So this one I would definitely recommend. Okay, so the next book I read was The Men by Sandra Newman. This one was a weird one for me. Right, so this book imagines a world without men, which is an interesting concept, horrifying, but interesting. So I picked it up, and it says, in a single moment, in every part of the world, every single person with a Y chromosome vanishes. Lovers, children, parents, even fetuses from the womb. And then we follow the people who are left behind, and we specifically follow Jane, who is on a camping trip when this happens with her husband and her son, and from one moment to the next they're gone, and she can't understand what's happening. She hasn't watched the news or anything, so she runs around the woods searching for them, obviously. But eventually she finds out that this is a bigger thing. It's not just her family that it's affected. So we follow her journey trying to figure out how to get them back. And we also find out about her backstory in sort of flashbacks throughout the book. And I would definitely check out some trigger warnings for this book, because that part of the story is kind of brutal and uncomfortable. Another aspect of the fact that the men are vanishing is that videos start to pop up online showing the men in these otherworldly setting and landscapes, and it's like really weird. It's like they're walking underwater or something, and it's very strange. There are these weird creatures in the videos as well, and yeah, it's just very strange. Everything is just very strange in this book. I haven't told you anything that doesn't say in the blurb here, just so you, yeah. I found this to be an interesting read, but it was also like strange, and I'm still not sure if I like it or not. I'm not sure I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed the concept, and it was an interesting story that I wanted to like see what was going to happen. But it's very strange. Did I mention it was strange? I think this book is trying to do too much all at once with this like new society and exploring how that would be and how that would affect the people left behind. And then there's these side stories and like backstories that explore very heavy topics, and I'm not really sure that either of them gets enough attention. I feel like you would need to maybe go deeper in one or the other instead of combining these two difficult topics and not really giving either of them the attention they deserve. The fourth book I read was The Little Gem That Is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a mythological retelling of the goddess Circe, who is the daughter of Helios, who is the god of the sun god. He is the sun. But Circe, even though she's a goddess, she has some divine properties, but she's not nearly as powerful as her parents. But eventually she finds out that she is in fact a witch and that she can learn witchcraft. So as she starts to learn witchcraft, she does a couple of things that makes her seen as a threat by the other gods, and she is banished from that world and sent to be in exile on this island called Ayaya. So we get to follow Circe on this island, how she learns witchcraft, and being an island, there are going to be sailors and visitors to this island because she's in exile, but other people can come and go as they want. There are a lot of intrigues with different characters from mythology and other gods. It kind of becomes a story of, I wouldn't say sacrifice, but it's just like, how far would you go for the people you love kind of thing. I really enjoy this book. I think it's very well written. It's an empowering book. It revolves around things that I think women experience and think about and are affected by. Even though this is in a mythological setting, it still feels very human. It's very cozy, but it's not boring. I figured, like, what's gonna happen? It's a girl alone on an island. Like, what could possibly happen? But there's a lot happening in this book, and I really enjoyed it. The writing I thought was beautiful. There are a couple of places where I like folded little dog ears here because I wanted to remember a couple of quotes that I was really affected by. I really enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed the language of this book. I didn't think it was overly difficult. It's easy to understand. There's some like a certain air to the language to make it feel more, you know, to fit the setting. I really liked it. I had heard a lot of good things about this book before I read it, and I had high hopes for it, but I wasn't really sure what it was going to be about. But it was actually better than I thought it was going to be, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely recommend this one. So those are the 4 books that I have read recently. I think I started reading in like October of last year, so it's basically like 1 book a month. But it definitely is getting like easier. The Secret History took so long for me to get through, and I mean the Measure and the Men went like that, and then Circe I kind of took my time with because I didn't want it to end. It definitely is something that you need to get used to when you haven't been reading for a while. You need to sort of get back into it, and I'm rambling now. Okay. I'm currently reading, right now I'm reading Mrs. England by Stacey Halls, and I've gotten about that far. So I still have a bit to go, but I will be talking about this one in the next wrap-up video, whenever that will be. Hopefully not in 4 months. I guess that's all for this video. If you have read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. I'm sure a lot of you have read at least one, so please give me your thoughts on the ones you have read, and if you're excited to read any of the other ones that I've mentioned in this video. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.